Hi, I'm Amy Edwards, and welcome to the Edwards Table. This podcast is all about real conversations, the kind that come from life, love, family, friendship, and all the messy, beautiful parts in between. I started this show because I believe in redemption stories and in sitting down together to talk about the things that shape us, heal us, and sometimes just make us laugh. So grab a seat, take a breath, and join me, because there's always room for you here at the Edwards Table. Well, hey y'all, and welcome to the Edwards Table podcast. My name is Amy Edwards, and I am your host. And if you have been joining these past few weeks, you definitely know this month is a lot of celebrating. The month of July marks our 1-year anniversary. Actually, July 23rd is the mark of our very first episode back in 2025. And so we turn 1 this month. And when you're watching this, you will be watching it close to that date if you're watching in real time. And if not, just welcome to the celebration. Super glad to have you all here. It has been so much fun these past few weeks getting to celebrate women that have been and men that have been, but everyone who's been just loving on me along the way and encouraging me to do this and to tell my story via podcast. The one woman that I focused on last week, just telling stories on, was my grandmother, who is just an integral part of my story. And so this week I wanted to take pause and really dig into some fun facts about the podcast, like things you don't get to see or hear because you're not in the background looking at data and analytics and all of that kind of a thing. But you may be asking, because this is a smaller community, right, in terms of podcasting, but it is a beautiful community. There are many of you that join me because you're healing or you have healed, and it's just nice to know that you're not alone in that journey. And so we spent season 1 together as I told my whole story to my daughter, Maddie. We actually sat at my table and did that. And then into season 2, where I sat down with my husband in the first few episodes and kind of got his perspective of, being alongside of me for my adult years, right? And what that looks like as my husband, as my best friend, as an outsider of being part of all of that. And then from there, over the course of the next few months, I just have been sharing about all the different ways that I have been healing, good days, bad days, mediocre days, all the things in between. So when I went on the different applications that I use to send all of this out to you all, I got some numbers, and I'm not great with remembering numbers, so I have some notes over here to my side. If you're watching, I apologize, I'm going to be looking off screen a good bit. But let me run down and tell you a little bit about how exciting it is to be a part of this community. So in terms of the Edwards Table, if you're listening to this episode, you're listening to the 52nd episode of this podcast, which is super exciting. That means that we have put out content every single Wednesday since we began last year. Out of all of those episodes, we have had over 1,000 episodes downloaded. Folks have downloaded them. Now, that doesn't mean that that's all of the people listening, because I'll tell you about that in a minute, but it means that over 1,000 times episodes have been downloaded. Super exciting. The next statistic is content views. We've had over 11,400 content views in this year. And then what is amazing to me is this podcast has been either downloaded or listened to on 6 of the 7 continents. The only continent that has not downloaded or listened to at least one episode is Antarctica. So if you know anyone in Antarctica, please tell them. I know there's only a handful of people that live there, but definitely pass on the link and let them listen in. I'd love to have their viewership and their listeningship as well. So 6 of the 7 continents, over 50 countries are listening, and over 180 cities have been listening. So all over the world, you all are listening to this podcast, and I found it very interesting in terms of gender, of men versus women or who are listening, we are almost split completely down the middle. The women edged it out just by a little bit, but the fellas are right there with y'all. So I'm so excited. That just actually is very encouraging to know that I could be an encouragement, not just to other women, but also to men out there. And maybe you guys, I don't know if it's you've been through something traumatic and you're healing, or maybe you love someone who has gone through something similar to me, or I don't know, but golly, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're here. So in terms of behind the scenes, how many hours did it take to do all of this? Well, I can tell you, for every episode that I record, we usually run between 30 and 60 minutes, give or take, on all of our episodes. And we land kind of in the middle spot of about 40 to 45 minutes per episode is average. In order to produce that amount of content, just one episode, it takes me my getting ready time, which includes obviously getting dressed and ready to be on camera, but also preparing, looking at whatever it is I'm going to be talking to you about or sharing about. That can range from, maybe 30 minutes of prep time to a couple of hours to maybe even several days, depending on what it is I'm going to share with you. Then is the actual recording day. So when I sit down to record for you all, I actually come prepared for the most part. I mean, you know how I talk, like I'm kind of off the top of my head, but I know what I'm going to be talking about, the main big parts and whatnot. And then, so usually when I do a recording, I have very limited edits. I don't take content out unless it's me yawning, me sneezing, me coughing, my ice maker, as you all have probably heard in the background sometimes, or the dishwasher, something is going and the noise in the background. So I will edit those pieces out. But for the most part, anything that comes to mind that I speak on, that you're getting that real and raw and edited, good, bad, or otherwise, I don't know. But that's kind of a given there. So overall, I would say it takes anywhere from 5 to 20 hours per episode to get it recorded for you, edited for you. Now, the whole other piece to this is technology. So when it comes to, once I've brought the video off of, I actually record on my phone. I'm an Apple user, and so I use my phone to record, and then I obviously have a microphone. But I will take it and I will edit that in a movie editing app. And then, like I said, that doesn't usually take me as much time. It may be an hour to 3 hours, depending on how long the content is. And then from there, it's a matter of exporting the file, uploading the file, and I send it 2 different places. So I have the video version that goes to YouTube, and then the audio version, and I use an app called Buzzsprout that I upload the audio file, description, title, all that good stuff, and then it sends it out to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon, like wherever you listen to me, wherever you listen to me, that is where it comes from if you're just listening in. So I do both of those parts, and then I also do all of my content for social media. And if you follow me on social media, thank you. And if not, please jump over and do so, because I would love to have you. We have a good time over there. But for the most part, over on social media, it's a lot of podcast clips. And then also, occasionally you'll get some fun behind the scenes things, or like if I've got something on my mind or I go someplace fun, I might pop a picture in and give you a little blurb about what I'm doing. But I create all of that as well. So I do everything that you experience in terms of the Edwards table. All of it is something I do. And if you've listened at all, you have definitely heard me talk about the fact that before I started this podcast, I didn't listen to or watch podcasts, other than I had one that I watched for work at the time. Past that though, y'all, I was not a podcaster. I didn't know that much about any of it other than the little experience I had with work. And at the absolute encouragement of my friend I chatted about last week, that was the only reason why I chose a podcast. honestly, I know that I'm meant to write my story, and so that really and truly is the end goal in mind, but definitely started with the podcast. This has been a really, really interesting journey for me. It's definitely been a growing period. This whole year has been a year of growth when it comes to maintaining my confidence and maintaining my drive to want to get out and do recordings and put myself so vulnerably out there for any and all to see, right? And so it's one of those things that I know it's needed, and I know the podcast has definitely helped me prepare for writing my book. Again, I know if you've listened regularly, you know the story of me and trying to write my story several years ago and what happened when I switched from a PC to a Mac. If you don't know, I'll let you guess. But suffice it to say, it was actually a good thing that I lost all of that content because it needed to be out of my head, to be able to be written down. But it certainly was not the format in which I would ever want my story to be told. I think if you know me and have listened or watched me, you know I'm animated, I'm dramatic when it comes to telling stories. And so I want my story to feel that way whenever I tell it, albeit in the written word or in the spoken word. So the podcast for me, this has been just a really cool way to kind of stretch myself out a little bit and try some new things and kind of get my speaking legs back under me again, if you will. It has been a journey, to say the least. There have been many weeks where, John and I will talk and I will feel overwhelmed or I will feel unmotivated, and he usually will figure it out very quickly and then gives me a good, just a good opportunity to kind of talk it out and process through, like, why am I feeling this way and what's got me upset or worked up or whatever. And then very quickly just to remind myself of why. Why do I do this podcast every week? Which is for the one of you out there who may feel unseen, unheard, very alone, and like there's no hope, hopeless, helpless, like all those feelings, right? I'm here for you. I'm here so that you don't feel that way, so that you actually see there are other people in this world that have endured, overcome, whatever the word you want to use. But there are others of us out there that have definitely been through it, like definitely have gone through some things, so that you're not alone and you don't ever have to feel like you are. That's my why. It's for the one, to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel represented. I love that. I love that I'm able to be that for other people. So when I think back to this season and I think about all 52 episodes that I've recorded, one of the questions I've been asked is, what is my favorite episode that I've recorded? And I have told y'all, I'm not really good at giving favorites. I'm more of a generalized favorite category. Like, I like multiple options with all of my whys. So let me give you my whys and my options. The hardest and the proudest episode I think that I've ever recorded was season 1, episode 3. And that is where I share with my daughter about my early 20s. And in that episode is when I talk about having had my abortion. That was one of the hardest things I literally have ever done. I spent months preparing for that, having honest conversations with her and preparing her for what was going to be talked about. And mind you, I mean, she's in her 20s, but also that's a lot to take in. That's your mom that you're having to hear this from or whatever. And that had not been a part of my story I'd ever really shared before with her. And so, as she is, very gracious, she had nothing but encouragement for me and appreciation that I was forthright and honest with her about sharing. So definitely season 1, episode 3. It was beastly because I cry a lot, and I am not a public crier. I do not like being emotional in front of people. I tend to want to always be the strong one. So that one for me, I'm most proud of because it was very hard to get through. In terms of most fun, I was thinking about that. Again, I'm not good with picking. I mean, all of my episodes with Maddie season 1 were super fun to do with her. There were, albeit we had a lot of serious conversation, she and I have the giggles together. We're really bad about eye contact and giggling. Like, we're the kind of people you don't seat next to each other in a serious situation because we're gonna find something that's hilarious and have no self-control. So that was super fun. I think it was also some of my favorite episodes were bringing John on. So the first 4 episodes of season 2, he came to the table and we had some conversations about, you know, what it was like being married to me early on versus now, and things that we learned along the way and things we went through. So we had a really good time doing those together. And then in terms of some of the more surprising things that I talk about, you know, that I was kind of surprised with, I don't find myself to be, you know, like in the professional realm. I'm not like a trained coach or trained counselor or anything like that. However, I do have a tendency, I think, to kind of land in that space a little bit just because of my experiences, right? Like, you don't go through being abused and all this trauma in your childhood and your early teens and adult years not without some lessons learned and some coping mechanisms, albeit good, bad, or otherwise. But also, I did go and do therapy for 11 years off and on. In an 11-year period, I was going regularly. And so, like, I feel that I've gleaned a lot of information that's been exceptionally helpful, and I'm just more than willing to share it. So when I think about, like, things that surprised me that I talked about, you know, having a monthly series. So I did a couple of those in the spring of this year during season 2, and just kind of talking through process of what it looks like for healing. You know, the fact that it's not an event, it's a process, that you're gonna have days that take you back to old wounds, sometimes because they're unhealed, but sometimes it's scar tissue and you just need a reminder of where you came from. You know, these kinds of things. I never thought in a million years I was going to be talking through any of that with y'all, but yet here we are. And I think one other thing that I love about incorporating throughout this whole podcast, and I tried to be very diligent about this weekly, not always was I excellent, but the fact of God's ribbon of redemption, that he's like woven completely through my story. If you listened at all to season 1, if you've listened at all through season 2, you definitely have heard me talk about my faith in God and what that means, but also how he has redeemed all of the things. Like, he redeems all of the hurt, all of the pain, all of the abuse, my abortion, you know, all of it he redeems. And I think he is continually doing that. I don't think it's just a one and done, that he like checks this box off, okay, we've redeemed that because I gave her another chance, or put somebody in her life that made it, you know, different or whatever. I don't think it's like that. I think that it's more of this process that he's continually redeeming all of our stories, really and truly until we die and go to heaven, like, as believers. It's a constant work in progress, because we are, right? Like, we're growing and learning along the way, and then it allows God to then come in and fill us up that much more. So I have loved that about this podcast. I know for some it's off-putting. I know for others it's encouraging. I hope you're team encouraging and not team off-putting, but I'm definitely very proud of that. I'm proud that I'm able to share that with you all, and that even more beautifully so is that God has given that gift to me through the redemption of my story. I think another question that came to mind when I was thinking about today is, what is the most unexpected lesson that you've learned along the way? And I've thought about this, and where I've landed is that this whole podcast experience so far, like going through this whole year, and figuring out content and figuring out layout and just golly, down to the thumbnail that you look at when you open up on YouTube, is bringing God into the middle of what it is I'm doing and really listening for Him to help guide my words, the decisions I'm making, the topics I'm covering, the stories I'm telling. I mean, I know I've told a lot on here, but reality is I couldn't tell you my whole story. You'd have to actually be physically with me, living it day to day, to actually know all of it, right? But I think it's just reminded me to humble myself and not get too cocky. And let me tell you, it's very humbling when you've poured hours into producing an episode and only a fingerful of people are watching or listening. However, in those moments when I would feel that way and I would start kind of having my little pity party, about it, it was always then that I would get a DM or, a message from someone, a lot of times complete stranger, sometimes people that I've known but maybe haven't kept in touch with, that have thanked me or have told me how much my story speaks to their story. And so they don't feel as alone in all of this. Every single time I would start to feel sorry for myself is when God would show someone in my life and remind me, you're here for the one. And surprisingly, every time it was a big story that someone was telling me. For instance, whenever I share about having had an abortion, it is almost 1,000% true that I will have at least one woman come up to me and share that she too has done this, but many times I am the first person that they've ever told. And I can completely relate to that. I totally understand that feeling. But it is so powerful to know that just by speaking it out loud, that there are a few people out there that have heard, and that also now that they don't feel like they are the only ones that have made this decision. Many of whom carry the kind of guilt and shame that I used to carry. And so it's just very encouraging to know, like I said, there's a community of people out in this world, and all of us have stories to tell. All of us have made mistakes. All of us hopefully have learned lessons. And so I think it's just this unique opportunity to be able to share those with one another and learn and grow together, encourage one another on this journey, because life, if what I've learned so far in almost 52 years on this planet is life is precious. Life is uncertain, and life is short. It feels like it's going to be really long when you're in your 20s, and y'all, I sit back in my 50s and look back now and think, golly, those days might have felt long, but the years are short. I got here quick. I got here really quick. So I love that we have this community. I love that you all are willing to come and sit down at the table with me, or in my kitchen as we are right now, and join me for these episodes and just hear more of my story, but also reassure you of yours, that your story is meaningful, that going through really hard things is not a waste of time. It's not a waste of emotions and energy. There is so much that we can glean from that. Not in the moment, right? I'm not telling you, like, if you're going through, let's say, a really hard, I don't know, maybe you're going through a divorce right now, or you've lost someone that you love, or you've been abused, and now as an adult, you're trying to make heads or tails of what that really means for you right now. I'm not saying in the midst of that, you have it all figured out and you should learn 12 lessons along the way and whatever. That's ridiculous. No, you shouldn't. Lessons come after the fact. Lessons come when we have hindsight, when we have availability to actually step out and look into a situation and not have to have it surrounding us. So my hope is that as we continue together in this upcoming season, and yes, y'all, we're having a season 3, but as we continue this journey together, my hope is that I'm going to be able to now introduce you to some people that have beautiful stories that will speak into yours as well. I am so excited to be able to share this next piece with you, and that is season 3. So season 3 is going to launch in August. Be sure to be on the lookout in social media for exact date of when it's going to be published. But for now, we are going to go to a twice a month schedule of launching our episode content. And the why behind that is because I'm having guests join me at the table. So we'll hop back over to my table, which is literally right across the way, and I will be welcoming some amazing people who may or may not be famous, more on the not side. They're just average, normal people just like you and me, but they have beautiful stories. They have incredible stories. They have stories that you would never know if you met them on the street. You would never know if you were standing in line behind them at the grocery store. But golly, I want you to hear them. I want you to hear them because they're people of all ages, of all walks of life. They have just the most incredible things to share. And so I am super excited to be welcoming people to my table and be able to share their story with you all. So get ready for that. That is going to be so much fun. The other thing I want to share with you all is this. I know that I have dropped some little sprinkles here and there about me and writing. So in the recent past, I have started back up with writing my story. And what I'm finding is, one, I'm super excited because it's coming out of me in a way on paper that I dreamed it would. It feels very much like this, which is more conversational instead of stuffy and like gross. And then two is the amount of things that I'm sharing and what I'm sharing is totally different almost from what I share here on the podcast. And I know that's hard to believe, but there are so many beautiful details of my story that it would take, like I said before, it would take way too long, y'all. You'd never be able to sit it out for all of that. You'd be like, girl, hush, we need to move on. But I am super excited. So I will be dropping in updates along the way. Definitely, again, join us on social media. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It's always at the Edwards Table, and typically there's an underscore between the Edwards and table. So be sure to come and join us out there. You'll get more updates that way. You'll hear more about what's going on there. And then the third thing that I wanted to tell you about is I'm also working on something else that may give you a physical something to have with purchase. So more details to come about that. That is a very wee baby project in the works. So she's a brand new project that I just started kind of dreaming about the past couple of weeks, but more to come soon on those things. So y'all, I just want to pop on here, take some time to celebrate all of those amazing stats. I mean, like, let me look at these one more time. 52 episodes, over 1,060 downloads, like 1065, 11,409 content views, spanning 6 continents, minus Antarctica. Come on, y'all, help me get somebody up there. 51 countries around the world, 183 cities. Like, I don't even have words. I literally do not have words. I figured maybe a few friends in Texas and maybe a couple in Tennessee and Georgia that I have, or in California, would be like, I mean, I'll watch 1 or 2, it'll be fine. And to look at all of that, that is just the most beautiful thing. I could not thank y'all enough. I couldn't. I could not. So I just want to leave you with this. These numbers, they tell a part of this story, right? The journey that we've been on together, my journey to get here, to be able to go and do this for this past year. But the real story is you. It's you showing up and you listening, because without you, I wouldn't even be here. If there weren't people listening, I would have cut this feed and been done with it. I assure you, I have other things I could be spending time doing. But I hear you. I hear your questions. I hear your stories. I hear your feedback. And I am eternally grateful to be able to be here and to continue this podcast with you all. And I'm looking forward to this next season. Season 3 is going to be so beautiful to be able to introduce you all to some people that are super special to me, introduce you to some people that I really don't know, but I really admire. Lots of great folks that will be coming to join us. And so be on the lookout for our August drop date. That is going to be coming out really soon. So make sure you're on social media, and definitely be on social media. Y'all with me, it's so fun. I have a good time over there. And you get kind of the hot takes, and you get the behind the scenes. And then also you'll get all of these updates like, how's my writing going? Where are we in this? Of which I have finished a full chapter, and it's getting feedback right now to make sure my voice sounds good in there. And then from there, I'll be writing, well, I've written more, but we'll keep moving ahead. And so I'll keep you posted on what that looks like and how you'll be able to reserve yourself or buy yourself a copy, hopefully in 2027. I don't think we'll get it done in 26, but you know, hey, God is hilarious in how he shows up and shows out. So like, I'm not gonna say it couldn't happen. I'm just saying, let's be real, probably not gonna until 2027. But as we get a more firm date of when that launch and release is gonna be, I'll definitely keep you posted. And then that third little secret I dropped in here, y'all, be sure to be paying attention, because there are gonna be some really cool things that you're gonna probably wanna join me in maybe having some of. So in the meantime, I cannot thank you all enough. You are my why. You're my why of telling my story. And thank you for this opportunity. I can't believe, happy birthday, Edwards Table. We have turned one officially July 23rd. Y'all have an amazing rest of your day, evening, week, weekend, whatever it may be. And until next time, I hope you know you always have a seat right here at the Edwards Table. See you soon, y'all.